Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of Mayor and Council. Thank you all for attending. If you would all rise for the invocation from Councilman Holland.
Let us pray. Oh, Father God, we stand before you on this night that you have made. Pray to ask you for your blessings upon this meeting that's held here tonight. We pray that you bless us with wisdom, knowledge, and the common sense to help us make smart and wise decisions on your behalf. And we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. If you please remain standing for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right. Are there any changes to the agenda for this meeting?
No, sir, there are not.
Okay. You all have the minutes from our last meeting from September 11th in your packet. If there are no questions or comments regarding the minutes, I'll set the motion for approval.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Quillen.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to exclude myself from voting for I was not here in attendance.
Thank you, Councilman Holland. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, the minutes pass unanimously. We're going to move on past item C for the time being to give a few more minutes. We're going to move on to public comment. Is there anybody here for public comment?
We have Jim Walsh here for public comment.
All right, Mr. Walsh, if you'd come forward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Jim Walsh. I live at 309 Plantation Drive in Seaford in the Governor's Grant subdivision. I would like to start off by asking if the city uses reclaimed water in their irrigation system here. Okay, I'm going to assume that we don't. And in assuming that, I got to commend the city on the outstanding job they do on watering the park area across the street from City Hall. I passed by here at 0400 hours yesterday morning on my way to work, and I noticed that the irrigation was running in full force in the park. And I must say that the sidewalk received an exceptionally good cleaning in the process. I don't know what received more water, the small amount of grass or the sidewalk and street from the runoff. So I guess you know where I'm going with this. Enough of that observation. 11 years ago, when I built my home in Governor's Grant, I installed an irrigation system for my lawn. At the time, they told me I had to pay an extra $500 to install a second meter pit for future use, when the city decided to install meters so that they could separate irrigation from household use. Of course, at the time, I thought that it was crazy, but I went with it. Keep in mind, this was 11 years ago. This is also the first place that I've ever lived where there were not meters on each home for water usage. As well, which struck me as unusual, but I figured it was a northern thing, because I'm from the South. My understanding of the proposal from Mr. Mears, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you will install meters on the homes in Governor's Grant, and I believe it's the Mears subdivision up off of Herring Run, for their irrigation systems. And you will start charging us for the actual water usage for our irrigation systems. Then over the course of time, the city will work to bring the rest of the city with irrigation systems up to the same standards and separate their water meters to be charged as well. If that is the case, my issue is that it took 11 years on my new subdivision. How long will it take to bring everyone else up to speed? And if at all, will it be another 11 years? That I feel is discriminatory against those of us who currently have separate meter pits. In fairness, everyone should be brought into compliance and charged at the same time for two reasons. One, to be fair to all the residents, and also to ensure that the city doesn't drag its feet on getting the rest of the homes into compliance. In addition, if we in fact,
Mr. Walsh, you can continue. Go ahead.
in addition, if we in fact do know who the large users of the water are, why do we not charge them? Why would we not put water meters on every home in the city and charge for actual usage per home and business? That would make more people and businesses be much more conservative in their usage. We have seen 2 increases in our bill in the past 4 months. The last one we will see on our October bill. We're going to price our residents right out of their homes, and all the good that is coming into the city will leave because there will be nobody here to enjoy it, as they will all have to move out. Is that the direction we want to go? I can tell you that my usage of water in my home of 1 person and a dog does not use nearly as much water as, say, a home with 2 adults and 2 children. Thank you for your time. Jim Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. Walsh.
Thank you. Thank
Is there anyone else here for public comment?
We have Ron Sutton here for public comment.
Mr. Sutton? Okay.
Jackie Book here for public comment.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Jackie Book here for public comment.
She's here for the public hearing, I think.
Public hearing, okay. No problem. So strike 2. Anybody else on
There's
the
no
list?
one else here for public comment.
All right. We're going to move past the public comment section. Is there anybody here for correspondence?
No, we have no correspondence.
No
sir.
correspondence, okay. We're going to begin our public hearing, I want to say 7:06 PM. I believe Jeremy Reeves.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Michael. Good evening.
So the first item on tonight's public hearing is for Jeremy Reeves. Property is 22928 Sussex Highway. That is tax map and parcel 331-5.00-50.08. They're requesting a sketch site plan review for the construction of an eating establishment with a drive-through, associated parking, and utilities. Oh. I put it in there.
See if you can load it up from,
Yep.
There's nothing on the screen.
well, can you load it up real quick
The
from,
screen's black. Let's see.
it's hard to do it without the,
Yeah.
Just right click, open, open file. Yeah, and then go to the latest one.
That one?
Yep.
There we go.
There we go.
back on track. Thank you, Michael.
So this is the site I have highlighted in blue. It's in front of Seaford Village Shopping Center. It's the former Plaza Tapatia building out there that's been vacant for a number of years. This new people are proposing to raise the site, or at least the building portion, and reconstruct a new building in the same location as the existing building. It's going to be a cookout restaurant. It's labeled on there, but it's very hard to see, so that's what it's proposed to be. So they'll, like I said, they'll demolish that building and it'll be a new 3,154 square foot restaurant. They're showing 62 parking spaces on the sketch plan, a dual lane drive-through, a new dumpster enclosure. They'll maintain the existing entrances and exits through the Seaford Village Shopping Center. And it will require approvals from DelDOT, the State Fire Marshal, and the Sussex Conservation for their stormwater. That's pretty much it. It's a very rough sketch at this point. They're working on a more formal submission for the next one. They're doing surveying and stuff currently for it, so if there's any questions.
All right. Are there any questions from council? I have one.
Yes.
You mentioned 62 parking spaces for the new building.
Mhm.
Do we have any idea what parking spaces out there now for the previous building?
They're losing a couple
Okay,
with the dumpster enclosure where it's shown
Gotcha.
on that upper left corner. And without seeing the floor plan for the restaurant and doing the firm calculations, I don't know what the final
Okay.
number of parking will be required to be, so.
all right, I appreciate it. Do we have any questions from the public? Okay,
So for the second item is for Jay Dolby, the property owner of tax map and parcel 331-4.00-37.00, requesting a final site plan review for the proposed construction of a 157 lot subdivision. This is the property there out off of Old Furnace Road, about as far out of city limits as you can get. Right now, it's currently farmland and partially wooded. And D.R. Horton is the developer that's going to be doing this project, and they have submitted this plan showing the subdivision. They're going to subdivide that existing large parcel into 157 single-family dwelling lots. The proposed lots meet the area and bulk requirements for the R2 zone, which is this property is zoned R2, 4,500 square foot minimum square footage and a 35-foot minimum width. They're proposing connections to the city electric, water, and sewer with a lift station that will service this project. And they're going to extend up 13 with the electric, water, and sewer, cut across is farmland that's south of this property. And it does require the approvals from DelDOT, State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation, and our city engineer for the water, sewer, and electric extensions. There are some gentlemen here from the project, D.R. Horton, and Mrs. Dolby is here as well if there's any questions on this project. It's been several times through council, so it's very familiar to.
okay. Do we have any questions from the council on this matter? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, moving on.
And the third item on tonight's public hearing is for the proposed changes to Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code, amending Sections 15.7 definitions, Sections 15.65 temporary sign regulations, and Section 15.74 off-street parking standards. We're looking to revise the definition of a family, place restrictions on election campaign signs, and increase the parking requirements in the R3 high-density residential zoning districts to 3 parking spaces per dwelling unit. So I have the code here as well, if there's any questions or.
I'll just add for the record, because this is a change to Chapter 15, which is the zoning ordinance of the city of Seaford, we have to have a public hearing prior to changing it. So this is the public hearing that's required, and should council want to proceed, this will also qualify for our second reading of the code as the building official has outlined. So the council can choose to adopt this if they would like to with an action of the council after the public hearing.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. Are there any questions on item number 3 from council? Okay. Are there any questions on item number 3 from the public? Yes. Would you come forward and say your name and do the whole thing? Yeah, I know you've been here. I know. But you know what we gotta do here. Yeah, I know. My neighbor, I know you. Come on.
Trina Joyner. I'm just curious to know, what is your current definition of a family and what you're going to change it to?
Okay, so currently in the zoning ordinance, it's no more than 3 unrelated people. And the genesis of this is it's been very difficult for our code department to prove relationships. And we are experiencing a problem with overcrowding in our city. So this change will take it to, and the actual definition will become 5 or fewer adults and minor children in their care living together in a dwelling unit. And then additionally, there's another code change that's running parallel to this, that's in old business number 1, that will establish square footages, minimum square footages for bedrooms used for sleeping purposes, and it will say how many people can live in a room based on its size. So the building official and his staff, if this is passed, can go through, look at the house, the rental unit,
Okay,
measure,
that was gonna be my next,
measure the rooms used for sleeping purposes, and then assign a occupancy load based on that information.
that's pretty loaded.
Pretty loaded? I didn't understand
Yes, it's potential problems, but, so, when you're looking at, so are you going to change your landlord license requirements? Is it going to be per bedroom now, or is it still just one flat fee?
So currently, this is not a proposed change to the landlord license
Licensing.
fee.
Okay,
That stays the same.
okay,
Now, that's not static all the time. That may change, that's up to council, but that is not proposed as part of this code change.
yet,
Correct.
okay. And when do you propose this to become effective?
So should council adopt this tonight, then there is a required advertising period of 30 days. So I'd
Okay.
have to work with the building official to see when we could get it in, and then it would become effective 30 days after the advertisement. The crucial thing, I think, that landlords and people obtaining license need to understand, the idea of our staff is that when we renew the license this year, at the end of the year, when we do our normal renewals, that's when we'll work with the landlords and work with them to come into compliance.
Okay. To be continued outside of the meeting, once I see what the changes are. But, okay, and this is just for residential, single-family dwellings, or we're talking all rentals?
It's all units,
All
dwelling
units.
units, yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Joyner. Come on forward. Can you please say your name into the microphone, just for the record? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Edith, though. Just a quick question. Does that apply to, if you're not a rental and probably a property owner, does that apply to your family? The family size, does that apply to you too?
Yes, ma'am. That is the definition that's in the zoning ordinance and in the housing code. We have more contact with people that rent their units because we're in there every year. The only time typically we would go into a single-family owner-occupied home, my home, is when we received a complaint of overcrowding or something of that nature.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments from the public? Okay. So we can close the public hearing at 7:17 PM. Okay, we'll reopen.
So we'll go into agenda item number 1, findings of facts. The project is the Cookout Restaurant. Owner is OI and Singh LLC. Property location is 22928 Sussex Highway. Tax map and parcels 331-5.00-50.08. Zoning is C2 Highway Commercial District. They're proposing to demolish the existing building and construct a 3,154 square foot restaurant. They are showing 62 parking spaces on this sketch plan, a dual lane drive-through, a new dumpster enclosure, and to maintain the existing entrances and exits through the Seaford Village Shopping Center. Required approvals from DelDOT, State Fire Marshal, and Sussex Conservation, and Planning and Zoning did make a favorable recommendation for approval at their September 5th meeting.
All right. At this point, I seek a motion on the matter.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of Jeremy Reeves, property owner of 22928 Sussex Highway, tax map and parcel number 331-5.00-50.08, for a sketch site plan approved for the construction of a eating establishment with the drive-through, associated parking, and utilities as presented.
All right, we have a motion by,
Council number is 331-4.00-37.00. Zoning is R2 medium density residential. They're proposing 157 residential lots, and those lots do meet the area and bulk requirements for the R2 zone, 4,500 square foot minimum with a 35-foot minimum width. They're proposing connections to the city electric, water, and sewer with a lift station, and they require approvals from DelDOT, State Fire Marshal, Sussex Conservation, and the city engineer for the water and sewer extensions. Planning and Zoning also made a favorable recommendation for approval at their September 5th meeting.
all right, at this time, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I make that motion to approve the request of J. Dolby, property owner of tax map and parcel 331-4.00-37.00 for final site plan approval for the proposed construction of a 157 lot subdivision as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Do we have a second, please?
I'll second it.
A second from Councilman Quillen. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, at this time, we'll accept a roll call vote. Vice Mayor Henderson.
Yes, based on the findings of facts.
All right, Councilwoman Grassett.
Yes, based on findings of fact.
Councilman Holland.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Bradley.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
And Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings of facts.
All right, on to number 3. Okay. All right, on motion number 3, I will set the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the changes to Chapter 15 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 15.7 definitions, Section 15-65 temporary sign regulations, and Section 15-74 off-street parking standards that would revise the definition of a family, place restrictions on election campaign signs, and increase the parking requirements in R3 high-density residential zoning districts to 3 parking spaces per dwelling as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
I have a second from Councilman Bradley. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, set the roll call vote. Vice Mayor Henderson.
Yes, based on the findings of facts.
Councilwoman Grassett.
Yes, based on finding of fact.
Councilman Holland.
Yes, based on findings and facts.
Councilman Bradley.
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Quillen.
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. We'll move on to new business number 1, Chief Kraft.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, city manager.
Good evening.
Thank you for entertaining me tonight and accepting our request to come before the council. Tonight, I come before the council to request the authorization to purchase an additional patrol vehicle and to also funding to upfit an existing vehicle for our patrol needs. Just some background, our budget was approved for $350,000 to purchase 5 vehicles. We were able to secure several Dodge Chargers at a much lower cost. This is the end of the model year for them. We've recently found another vehicle, but because of some savings and switching from Ford to Dodge, we ended up with an excess of $99,000 left in our vehicle budget. We feel this would be prudent and probably fiscally wise to take advantage of the vehicle that's on the lot now. To purchase that and upfit it would cost us $55,537, and we estimate the upfitting for one of our admin vehicles to go to patrol to about $15,000. If this is approved, that would leave a remaining balance of $29,000 and change to go back into the general budget and hopefully save us some funding next year for next year's fiscal budget. And just for your information, we currently have another admin vehicle that's end of life. We can't get it serviceable. It will have to be replaced next year. and we have 3 Tahoes that are from 2019, that I think at least a number of the council members are aware that we've had significant mechanical issues with. So we're not sure how much longer we're going to have out of those as well. And if anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Chief Kraft?
Just
Vice Mayor Henderson?
what's the delivery time?
So the current Dodge Charger is being held for us to get to council. It's on the lot right now. It's under state contract, so we don't have to go to bid, and it's ready for delivery now. Yeah. The upfitting would come probably in January, just because we have the ability to transition another vehicle we have. So that's a much less expensive car that we can push this other patrol car out. So.
Any additional questions for Chief Kraft? I have one.
Yes.
You mentioned the admin vehicle coming up next year. Any rough idea on like an estimate for that?
Well, that's like a 2006 or 7
Yeah.
Dodge Durango. It's been around forever,
Yeah.
and it's definitely broken down.
Forever.
Charles knows the one I'm talking about. What our plan is, we were able, because of the way that the market is, to secure a couple extra Dodge Durangos. Our plan going into next fiscal year, maybe it's more information than you want, but is to actually see if we can't upfit those for
Okay.
patrol,
Very nice.
so that we can purchase less expensive admin cars next year. So we were able to have this savings now, and we anticipate hopefully having more savings next year while still being able to meet our needs, kind of like a shell game. Because we could take advantage of those deals that we had this year. They won't be there next year.
Sure. I appreciate
So,
that.
yes, sir.
I got
Okay.
one question.
Councilman
Hey,
Holland.
Chief, what happened to the lease program that we started with that didn't work out or they couldn't keep up?
You know, I came in the door, that contract had been signed. I think I came in May of 19. We took delivery of the Tahoes in August of 19. And from an early onset, I think it was conversation with the Director of Finance and Charles and some others that probably wasn't the wise thing to do. Well, not that it wasn't wise, it's just COVID hit, supply, demand issues hit. You couldn't get cars. It was just problematic all the way around. And so we were stuck with just a handful of cars for a long period of time, and they just got wore out quickly. And we felt that we were better leveraged to purchase our own cars outright and not have that ongoing maintenance cost that we had to pay to Enterprise, even after they were paid for. Yeah.
Any additional questions for Chief Kraft? Okay. If there are no additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
Councilman Henderson, I make a motion to approve the request of Chief of Police Marshal Kraft to purchase an additional patrol vehicle for the Seaford Police Department and upfit an existing vehicle for patrol with remaining fiscal year 25 budgeted funds as presented.
Okay. We have a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimous.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you.
Okay, on to new business number 2, Burley Mears.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So I come before you tonight to, excuse me, request an unbudgeted purchase for a sewer lateral camera. So this is different than the mainline camera that we purchased last year. This is a smaller 200-foot reel camera that's, I don't know, it's about 2 inches around or so. We use it to put in the 4 and 6-inch laterals from the house out to the sewer mains. We do a lot of inspections with those. You know, if a resident has a problem with a blockage, they want to know what the problem is. So we go and we video the line to see if, you know, there's a problem with the line, see if we need to fix it, see if it needs to be replaced. So it's a valuable tool. So I'm just requesting to try to purchase one now so that we can continue that service for the customers.
Okay. Do we have any questions for Director Mears? I have one, Director Mears. Any idea on the lifespan of this type of equipment?
I don't know what the industry standard is. I know we got about 12 years out of ours, so we purchased it about 12 years ago. So I would say it doesn't owe us anything, you know, for the environment that it's in and things like that, but.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Okay.
Question.
Vice Mayor.
Over the lifespan of the existing camera, how many times did you change the lens?
Change the, never, actually.
Never?
No,
Wow.
no, never, no.
Is it a sapphire lens?
Yep, yep.
That's incredible.
So, and I guess I should give you a little backstory. We've had a couple issues with it charging, and the lens actually did just crack. But it's to the point now where the manufacturer won't service it. They can't get parts for it. So that's the whole reason I'm here trying to,
Okay.
yeah. I would repair it if parts were available.
All right. Any additional questions for Director Mears? Okay. If we have no additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of the Director of Public Works, Burley Mears, and authorize an unbudgeted expenditure from the Sewer Capital Reserve account to purchase a sewer lateral camera as presented.
All right. We have a motion from Councilwoman Grassett. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
I have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. On to new business number 3 and Superintendent of Parks and Recreation, Katie Hickey.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So I was reading new business number 3, and there is just one change. It was a last-minute change. These are just 2 resolutions, not 3. I was going to originally apply for 3 different projects through the Outdoor Recreation Parks and Trails, or better known as ORPT grant. But due to the new partnership with Tri-State Communities, we are putting that on hold and hopefully going to apply in future years for a larger amount. So we have redirected part of those funds. The total requested amount of ORPT is still $52,500 and that's with this through the state of Delaware is this program. The first resolution is Resolution R3-2024, and that's at the Riverwalk. And this is that we have applied for grant. This is an approval for applying for grant assistance from this program to repair the uneven pavers at the Riverwalk Fishing Pier, which is on the east side next to the apartment complex, and then install a bench and railing to the fishing pier. We would also replace all trash cans along both sides of the Riverwalk. We've been having some issues with vandalism with the current ones that we have, so they would be upfitted to also match the aesthetic of what is downtown. The total project for that, it would be $49,000, and the request from ORPT would be $36,750, with the city putting $12,250 match. The next resolution is R4-2024, and this is for Oyster House Park. And this would be applying for grant assistance from the same program to add 3 of the same solar lights that are currently placed in Nutter Park into Oyster House Park. Currently, there's only 1 light that is down there, so we would like to increase visibility and security because that area does get a lot of activity, especially since the boardwalk has been in. That total cost is $21,000, with ORPT funds requested is $15,750, and the city would match that with $5,250. That's all.
Okay. Are there any questions from council for Superintendent Hickey? Vice Mayor Henderson.
So the pavered area, is that the area next to the bridge?
Correct.
Between the bridge and the apartments?
Yes.
Okay. So I was down there and I noticed some sinkholes where
There's some sinkholes, and then some of the actual pavers have been taken up.
Yeah.
So we'd like to reinforce those and replace those.
Nice, thanks.
Any additional questions from council? Okay. If there are no additional questions from council, I will accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Quillen, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution of R3-2024 and R4-2024 that would permit the application for an outdoor recreation parks and rec, known as ORPT, grant for railing, paver construction at River Walk, Fishing Pier, solar lighting at the Oyster House Park. The total requested amount of the ORPT funds will be $52,500 with a 75-25% match as presented.
All right, we have a motion from Councilman Quillen. Do we have a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. On to new business number 4. And Director Bennett.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager.
Good evening.
Good evening.
In the electric department, we currently do not have a tension wire trailer. This allows you to pull wire over existing wires, roadways and driveways without allowing sag to go down too low to create hazard. Our old tension trailer was purchased in the mid-'80s, and we had to scrap that several years ago due to the condition of it, and it was no longer serviceable. So we went out to bid for a new trailer for pulling an overhead wire. After the budget process, because of the amount of fiber optic wire that we anticipate pulling in the near future, we added an option for a figure-8 fiber optic attachment. I'd placed $36,000 in the capital budget for this purchase. We opened the bids on 9/11, and with the fiber optic figure-8 attachment, the bid came in at $37,213.72. I talked with the Director of Finance, and she said if the bid is awarded, to do this as is, do it as a budget overrun. But several months ago, we purchased a meter site analyzer that came in $2,000 under budget. So between the two and my capital budget, it just about washes out. So we got the two bids, one from, and they're the same trailer, the same manufacturer, the same trailer. One is a little more local than the other one. One's out of Florida. D&D Electrical Sales, the trailer is $29,273.23. The fiber optic figure-8 was $7,040.47 with $900 shipping for a total of $37,213.72. Phoenix Contracting, the trailer was $36,999. The option 1, the figure-8 fiber optic puller, was $4,200. They figured their freight or shipping into it. So that came to $41,199. So it's my recommendation that the bid be awarded to D&D Electrical Sales Incorporated in the amount of $37,213.72. It's about a 10 to 12 week delivery. That would be my recommendation to make that purchase.
Okay. Are there any questions for Director Bennett from council?
Question.
Vice Mayor.
So over the past few years, you haven't had use of it. How were you stringing wire in the interim? How were you getting that done?
We had to string some fiber optic one time, and you have to be a little creative, which isn't always the safest thing to do. But when you're pulling in developments, the majority of our work lately, Muirfield 1 and 2, Melanie's Ridge, Bel Air, Governor's Grant, where with that underground, our old wire trailer that we have, which is probably from the 50s, it's Army surplus. But you're not pulling over stuff, so you don't need detention. So you can use those trailers to pull the underground wire in. You know, you need detention trailer. Right now, we're having to do some work, some fiber optic work around the Nylon Capital Shopping Center project, a location for for Total Health for fiber optic, and some fiber optic for the city for a couple cameras. And all of those will be over some driveways or roadways. So we would need detention trailer for that. We're also, it was changed from this year's budget to next year's budget to pull in the loop feed for the circuit that Amazon is on, Circuit 280. In 2 locations, we have to go over a DP&L pole. One has secondaries on it, but the other has primary on it. So you need this tension trailer to keep the wire up tight while you pull the new overhead primary over that.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Director Bennett? I have one, Bill. You mentioned 10 to 12 weeks for delivery. Just reminded me, I know, especially immediately after the pandemic, you guys would feel a crunch on supply chain and delays and things of that nature. Just curious, how are you guys impacted now? Are you seeing any kind of relief? Is the status quo? I'm just curious.
Some things have gotten better.
Okay.
Some things are status
Still,
quo. Transformers, 3-phase pad mount transformers are still 52 to 56 week delivery time.
Wow, that's crazy.
Switch gears down to about 48 weeks. Bucket trucks, new truck 3 came in today. It was ordered 17 months ago, and another vendor was 4-year delivery. And those times on trucks are still about the same.
Wow.
They haven't come down. The only thing that may ease that up a little bit is vehicles sitting on the lot. So more chassis will be available for fleet sales now. Fleet sales were manufacturers putting all their chassis on the retail lot because they could get more money for them. So it held up fleet sales. So
I appreciate you being so proactive given the restrictions you face. All right. If there are no additional questions, I'll accept the motion.
I would like to make a motion to award the bid for the wire reel trailer to the low bidder, D&D Electrical Sales, Inc., in the amount of $37,213.72 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Bradley. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
We have a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, passes unanimous. Thank you, Director Bennett.
yeah, thanks for your support.
Yes, sir. All right, move on to new business number 5.
Hello again.
Hello.
Hello.
So we had bids, we had 2 bids, do we have that attachment? Thank you. For a front mount mower, which is essentially one of the standard mowers, just a little bit larger that we have now in our fleet, but it is compatible with a snow blower attachment. Currently, we have a 2015 snapper mower that hosts our main snow blower that we do the sidewalks with, and it has seen better days. Clearly, it's been 10 years, and it's got many hours on it, too many hours on it. So we had actually put this in the FY24 budget, but due to timing in getting the mower and leg in that, it got pushed to FY25. So now we have bid it. We received 2 bids, one from Atlantic Tractor. The price of the mower was $27,824.54. The price of the snow blower attachment is $5,150.93 with a trade allowance of $2,500. The total with trade being $30,500. And actually, I'm mistaken. He did that math wrong, and I don't know the exact number, but it's $30,400 and some dollars. I do apologize. I don't have that exact number, but when I was doing the math, I was like, that's wrong. It still is above what the second bidder is from Taylor & Messick, with the price of the mower of $27,100. The price of the snow blower is $5,800, and the trade allowance being $4,900, with a total trade allowance of $28,000. We do have $27,600 budgeted for this expense, so it would be a budget overrun of $400. I could certainly look at my capital budget and see where we could hopefully adjust to be able to allow this $400 overage. But it would be our recommendation. We have worked with both vendors, both Atlantic Tractor and Taylor & Messick. And so it's my recommendation to go with the low bidder of Taylor & Messick in the amount of $28,000.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Superintendent Hickey? Okay, no questions from council. I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Quillen, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid of the front mounted mower with a snow blower attachment to the, it's very hard to say, Taylor & Messick, Inc., in the amount of $28,000 as presented.
That was good. We've got a motion from Councilman Quillen. Is there a second?
Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Got a second from Councilman Holland. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. And now on to new business number 6. Director Mears is back.
Yes, I am. So, you all are aware that I was here last meeting requesting some language changes in the code to allow meters to be installed in residential irrigation pits. There was some discussion and a request to bring back some options as far as the requirement of a dedicated irrigation pit. So the language I have presented to you, I'll just read it. Lawn irrigation systems shall be required as described in 14.3.15C of this chapter to install a meter and pit using one of two options. Option 1, a meter and pit shall be installed on the primary house service before the irrigation system connection. This meter will be charged for both water and sewer usage based on the metered rates. Option 2, install a separate meter and pit that shall service only the irrigation system. This meter will be charged for only water usage based on the meter usage rates. So this allows you two options depending on if you want to just pay water on your irrigation or if you want to pay water and sewer charges on your whole house and see what better or is more economical for you. So.
Okay. Are there any questions for Director Mears? Okay. If there are no questions, I'll accept the motion.
No motion required. Just the first reading.
Excuse me. No motion on this one. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll keep on moving to old business number 1.
Good evening again. So I'm presenting the second reading for the proposed changes to Chapter 4, the Municipal Code, amending Section 436, definitions, and Section 4311, light ventilation and space requirements. This would revise the definition of a family and provide a minimum square footage for areas, rooms used for sleeping purposes in the building code. So in 436 definitions, there's actually 2 definitions that we're updating. The one for dwelling will be one family dwelling is a building containing 1 dwelling unit, and a 2-family dwelling is a building containing 2 dwelling units. The old version had some language in there about the 3 unrelated borders and things like that. And also the definition for a family will be updated to 5 or fewer adults and minor children in their care living together in a dwelling unit, subject to the requirements in section 4.3.11. And then going down to section 4.3.11, we are changing the one section, the area for sleeping purposes, and that will read as every room occupied for sleeping purposes by one occupant shall contain at least 70 square feet of floor area, and every room occupied for sleeping purposes by more than one occupant shall contain not less than 50 square feet of floor area for each additional occupant thereof. So these are the proposed changes for that code.
Okay. Are there any questions from council for Mr. Bailey? Councilman?
Could you
Yes.
please, for clarification for the people in the room, explain about, well, at the last meeting, how you explained about the overcrowding and why this is becoming an issue?
Yes, so lately we've been getting a numerous amount of calls for these areas all over town, these units that have a large amount of people in there. The current code only allows up to 3 unrelated persons per unit. So we go in there and we see 8 or 9 people in one, 2-bedroom apartment. But they're all related, so we can't do anything about it because the code allows everybody that's related to stay there. So this change would allow us to say, for a normal house, no more than 5. And then for these smaller apartments, you could have 5 if the rooms are large enough for it. If not, we'll make measurements of the units, come up with a number. You may only get 2 or 3 people in there.
Okay, and this is basically for more reasons than just, it's more for the safety of the inhabitants. I mean, it's not like we're trying to be strong-armed.
Right. If these units are overcrowded, an emergency or fire happens, they'll be running over top each other trying to get out. It's not safe at all. So,
I might add as a comment, and I stated it at the last meeting, there's a house very close to here that on my way to church a couple Sundays ago, 7 o'clock in the morning, 3-4 bedroom house, there are 10 cars in the yard. So if you do the math, and there are 2 people to a car, there are basically 20 people in a home, which is, yes, it is. Thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments from council?
Can I just ask
By all
Mr.
means.
Bailey a question? Mr. Bailey, in your research in developing this code change, you researched other municipalities and other entities that had similar codes, correct?
yeah.
Was the preponderance of your research a code like this or our previous code?
Most of the local municipalities are what we have currently, pretty much verbatim, no more than 3 unrelated people. So I went further out and found some similar language to what I proposed in ours and felt like it would be a good fit.
Thank you.
Appreciate the additional insight.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional questions or comments from council? Okay, if there are none, I will accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Quillen, I'll make a motion to approve the changes to Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code, amending Section 4.3.6 definitions and Section 4.3.11 light, ventilation, and space requirements that would revise the definition of a family and provide a minimum square footage area of rooms used for sleeping purposes as proposed, as presented.
Okay. We have a motion from Councilman Quillen. Is there a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from Councilman Bradley. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, it passes
Thank you
unanimous.
very
Thank you,
much.
Mike. All right, we're going to move on to the reminder of meetings.
Thank you, sir. Just a few. SCAP meeting, October 2nd at 5 p.m., Ross Station Event Center, and Seaford will be the host.
Yes,
So
indeed.
please sign up, see City Clerk Stewart if you have not, and you're able. The final Friday Night Live, October 11th, 5 p.m. at the grass lot behind City Hall. So Katie and her team are to be commended because this has been very successful this year. The Pink Walk is Thursday, October 3rd Walk begins at Tidal Health Nanticoke at 5 p.m. and the walk to Gateway Park begins at 5:20 p.m. That's all I have, sir.
I appreciate that. Packed house this past Friday night live. I saw a lot of people out there. All right, we're going to move on to liaison reports and Councilwoman Gressett.
Reporting from Public Works and Wastewater Departments, there have been a number of property cleanups for code purposes. They repaired another water leak in Williams Pond Park. The Pine Street lift station has now been placed into service. They cleaned the sewer line on Stein Highway because it was filled with debris from the paving that recently had taken place. They've worked on broken cleanouts that they found during smoke testing, replaced several fire hydrants, repaired lights on a truck, as well as prepared their quarterly water sampling for the state office, did weed spraying, continued their cammering of sewer mains, and in the wastewater treatment and composting department, they have been troubleshooting an issue with their blend tank blower. It's been blowing fuses, and they've been trying to fix that. They also started assembling their package for DENREC. We were applying for a trial approval of a different method for cleansing using
Peracetic acid.
Peracetic acid, thank you. It says PAA, and I knew I'd forget. Peracetic acid for cleaning. They have also jetted and cleaned the sewer main at the headworks, and they have been loading and hauling ground material from the leaf and limb site over the past week. And they plan in the next few weeks to continue using the cameras in sewer mains. They're going to be installing a water service on Pond Street, replacing hydrants, and performing work as needed. And that is the report from Public Works and Wastewater.
Thank you very much. Going to move on to the liaison report from Vice Mayor Henderson, Police and Fire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are two complete reports. Fire Chief Wilson reports total department responses for 2024 at 4,264 for an average of 15.9 calls per day for the year. And if you look up to the September total, you'll see it's 11.7 calls per day for EMS and 2.9 calls per day for fire statistic, or for the fire department. Significant events over the last period. On 9/9 in the city, 126 Shipley Street, there was a rescue of a child that was caught in a door. Same date, they assisted Station 71 for an accident on Sussex Highway and Oakles Road for a motor vehicle crash with entrapment. And out of the city, there was Woodland Road Park for a rescue for an injured person on the wooded trail. Under apparatus, engine 87-2 is out of service for pump issues. Under training, the last training was on September 18th for vehicle rescue evolutions at the pad at the Blades Fire Station. The next training will be October 2nd at the Delaware State Fire School in Georgetown. On Wednesday, October 16th, again, at the State Fire School in Georgetown, there will be engine company evolutions training. Under EMS, all ambulances are in service. Firefighter EMT Hannah Wheatley departs full-time. Her last shift full-time will be the 27th on Friday. The new state BLS protocol has been released and the update is available online. BLS field training recertification update is available online for our current FTOs to get recertified to assist with new EMT training. Under news and events, there were 104 total events in 2024 so far, with 1,029 total people over those all of those events participating, for a total of 1,969 hours, 1,969.41 hours. Congratulations, or my condolences to Chief Wilson. He was recently installed as the second vice president of the Delaware State Fire Chiefs Association at the State Fire Conference on the 18th. Along with those positions comes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and takes a lot of dedication to do that. The Seaford the Volunteer Fire Department Auxiliary member, Jenny Trice, was installed as second vice president of the Ladies Auxiliary of the Delaware State Volunteer Fighters Association at the State Fire Conference on September 19th. So congratulate her, or give her some compassion as well. Since we're talking about the fire department, I would like to thank the Ladies Auxiliary for the delicious spaghetti dinner that happened on Saturday night. If you didn't get there, you missed a really, really good meal. Lots of raffled items and auction items, and they raised some money to dedicate to the fire department. It was a really nice event. Chief Kraft has a full report once again. The left column is the 2024 column, which has a breakdown of the different categories. Underneath of this chart, you'll see all crimes, where there were 242 crimes reported in this period. The period being September 5th through Sunday, September 22nd. Since the period was a little longer than most, you might notice that some of these numbers are a little bit higher. There's an 88% clearance rate, which is roughly in line with previous periods, still very good. Under drug complaints, total drug crimes were, there were 20, 18 adult arrests, 1 pending inactive, and 1 prosecution declined. There were 3 search warrants served, and there were 2 overdoses which the police department responded to. Keep in mind that this is the police department and not EMS responding. This is the first contact that they respond to. So there may be other overdoses in town that are responded to by the fire department and the EMS. Under traffic, there were 304 traffic contacts, resulting in 154 citations and 20 warnings, 9 DUIs during this period, 37 crashes, 2 injury crashes, 1 on Front Street and Poplar Street, and 1 on Herring Run Road and Mears Drive. There were 12 non-reportable accidents and 23 reportable accidents. An unusually large amount of hit-and-run accidents over this period. There were 9 hit-and-run accidents, most of which were on private property, but you can see that there were several on streets, mostly at intersections. 1 bicycle accident, 3 pedestrian accidents during this period, and no alcohol or drug-related crashes during this period. There are several significant events that I'll let you to go ahead and review at your convenience. Under administration, the administration attended directors' meetings, staff meetings, liaison meetings and council meetings, and that was the chief as well as his other administrators. On September 9th and September 16th, there was a statewide strategic ops meeting. Deputy chief and criminal lieutenant attended that. On August 28th, Sussex County Community of Hope had a meeting with the chief. On the 3rd, there was a meeting with Neighbor Good Partners for a discussion on homelessness. The 4th, there was a meeting to discuss enhanced penalties for crimes related to shooting into structures. I think for the last couple of meetings, I've been mentioning this, and I think they're trying to develop some legislation or some, to codify some language to get this on a state level. The Royal, Chief had a Royal Subcommittee meeting on the 5th. Community events, there's Seaford Night Out is coming up on October 10th, 5 to 7. There's still more to come. We got one more meeting to figure out what's going to happen. So I think we all know that it's going to be a great event. There's always lots of fun things going on for the kids. Cops and Cones at Lickety Splits on the 26th from 6 to 8. Chief, that's a fundraiser for the SRO for his programs?
Yep, they're partnering with the SRO for Meet the Family project.
Okay, so that's the 26th, Thursday night, 6 to 8. Make sure you come out and support the SRO's fundraising program. And there's the ongoing Food On program that's in partnership with the Help Initiative. Officers Yost, Wilson, Blake, Kramer, and Cadet Brumley were involved with that. You'll see the training that went on, specifically at the end on 9/16 and 9/17. Patrolman Yost attended the A-RIDE training program. At A-RIDE is Advanced Roadside Impaired Driving Enforcement Training, and my understanding is that it trains officers to, it's advanced training for impairment of not only alcohol but other substances. So under the cadets program, the cadets were on bicycle patrol with ride-alongs, assisting patrol officers with complaints, arrests, proactive pedestrian and bicycle stops, and community engagement. The cadets handled minor offenses and multiple prisoner transports to SCI. Cadet Morales was out for 2 weeks for her military participation in the Army National Guard. She back, Chief, or she's still out?
She's still out.
Okay. The last thing you'll see there is the total number of criminal arrests year to date with the different categories there. And that concludes the report.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to move on to Administration and IT from Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. They attended the DMAC Executive Committee and board meetings, and they participated in the final inspection of renovations of Kiwanis Memorial Park, and they held interviews for customer service coordinator, and it was awarded to Kathy Anger. And I'd like to say congratulations to Kathy.
Amen.
And attended various other meetings and events, and all their work is routine. That concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Holland. Moving over to Electric and Councilman Mike Bradley.
Good evening. This evening, I want to deviate from my regular report and touch on two other topics, if you can imagine me doing such a thing. Okay, it's come to our attention that Bill Bennett, Director of Electric, will be retiring June 30th, 2025, after 23 years of service to the city. He's a member of Seaford Volunteer Fire Department, former fire chief, council member, mayor, and lineman. His dedication to the city and heartfelt passion goes without saying. You will be sorely missed. Okay. Secondly, I would like to give a brief report on the Demick dinner in Dover that we went to last week. Because this was my first, I didn't know what to expect. But Bill and I had some one-on-one, so I could now have a better understanding. We are basically a member of this group of municipalities to be a buying group to save our constituents money on their electric bill. In other words, it would cost more money in proportion to the Delmarva Power customers, which I am personally being affected by right now, okay? I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but there were 4 guest speakers that were asked questions by the director of Demick, and 2 really stood out by their comments to me, and I'd like to share them with you. First was a gentleman representing the Sierra Club, who intimated causes for delays in a substation completion was due to a city administration holdup, when in essence, state agencies generally slow down the progress, not the municipalities. And I can tell you right now, if we were doing something in this municipality, this group of people would vote on it forthright for the betterment of the community. Okay? The second was a gentleman that appears at Congress to stay abreast of changes that will trickle down and eventually affect all of us in this room. He mentioned that the mandates and timelines that have sped up since January and at a rate that is unachievable. Okay, we can't sustain it. I mention this because electricity is a necessary commodity, and there may be changes in the future, which one again will affect us all. Respectfully submitted, Mike Bradley.
Thank you, Councilman Bradley. Going to move over to Code, Parks and Recreation with Councilman Quillen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start off tonight with Parks and Rec. And all the sports programs are going along strong. The flag football, the soccer, and the men's softball, and staff has been very busy prepping all these fields and maintaining the fields for all this participation that we're going on out to the sports complex right now. Also, they Bobby, with the coordinator for parks, has tagged for removal of trees along Nylon Boulevard. Hosted the Coastal Cleanup Day on 9/14 at Seropmus Park, which collected approximately 232 pounds of trash around that area. Removed 6 trees for visibility from Nutter Park. Held bid opening for the new front mower and snowblower attachment, which was approved tonight. Submitted 2 grants for the Outdoor Recreation Parks and Trails Grant Program on 9/16, and that also was approved this evening. Confirmed details and advertising for public NYC bus trip on 11/23. More details to come. And worked on the logistics for upcoming Pink Walk event on 10/3 and the caroling in the park on 12/2. That's all for the Parks and Rec for this one, and I'll go move over to the Code. Code Department issuing 270 permits in 2024. This is 15 more since our last report. Also, the rental license has been steady at 1,796. Also, the Code Department has been still doing license renewals, rental inspections, routine inspections, violations, and plan approvals too as well. The large projects that are still existing is Merrifield 1, Phase 3. It's still working on 51 lots there, but Phase 4 has moved into installing water and sewer, and they're testing on that right now. And the next will be the street upgrading to go along with that. Bel Air, there has been 8 more permits already be issued. There was 10 prior to that, which those lots are almost finished, and they will be starting 8 more lots in the near future. The Western Sussex Business Campus is looking very nice out there. If you haven't rode by, I encourage everyone to ride out there. The parking lot's all done, and the lines are on the parking lot. It looks like they might have some type of occupancy in the near future here. Of course, the Nylon Capital project, that's definitely moving along pretty good with the back part of the section there has been all knocked down. They are working in the community bank section right now, trying to get everything approved there and there as well. And the last project that is still existing is the Taylor Professional Center, and everything is looking good there. The sidewalks have been installed, and all that's going to hopefully have occupancy soon after the beginning of the year. And that completes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Quillen. Appreciate everybody's efforts tonight. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So, we got a motion from Vice Mayor Henderson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Got a second from Councilman Quillen.
Second, yeah.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Good night.